Vice President Mike Pence is in Billings getting ready for this morning's event hosted by America First Policies. A panel is scheduled to discuss the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act before Pence speaks before the crowd. Outside of the Montana Pavilion at Metro Park, where today's events are set to kick off at 9:30. Samantha, tell us, what can our viewers expect from today's event?
Well, Victoria, as you said, the event starts at 9:30. Doors open here at 7:30. People are just starting to trickle in, and we've seen a couple people show up here at Metro Park. But right now, it's mostly law enforcement and Secret Service getting things ready for the vice president. As you mentioned, the vice president is expected to be the keynote speaker at this morning's event, where the topic of conversation will be the impact of the tax bill. Of course, things will kick off with speakers who will likely speak about the impacts of that tax bill here in Billings and across the state before the vice president will take the stage. The vice president landed here in Billings around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. After spending some time greeting the few dozen people who came up to see his arrival, he was off to a high-priced private fundraiser at the Northern Hotel for Senate candidate Matt Rosendale. As you'll remember, President Trump was in Great Falls just a couple of weeks ago campaigning for Rosendale as well. We spoke with Rosendale yesterday about what it means to him to have the two top Republicans in the country behind him.
It's quite a humbling experience. It's very exciting. I told some folks there was no coffee necessary last week in Great Falls. There was so much energy in that room, and now to have that followed up, as you say, with the vice president, what an honor. What an honor for the state, and for me as a candidate, it's really incredible.
Well, Victoria, and as I've mentioned, not very many people here just yet, so if you're planning on coming down to the rally and you're sitting at home, you've got some time to make your way down here. No total rush. The doors open at 7:30 and the event is set to begin at 9:30. For right now, Victoria, I'll send it back to you.
All right, good reminder. Thank you so much, Samantha. And if you can't make it to the event, Q2 will stream it live on the CW, on Facebook, and on KTVQ.com. And as Samantha mentioned, the coverage begins at 9:30. Looking now at the day's national headlines, visitors are being asked to leave two popular areas of California's Yosemite National Park by noon today. The nearby Ferguson fire is threatening air quality and visibility in parts of the park. The closures are designed to give firefighters a chance to gain some ground and are expected to remain in effect through at least Sunday. Also in this morning's headlines, last week we learned that shortly before the 2016 election, Michael Cohen secretly recorded a conversation he had with his client, Donald Trump. Last night, Cohen's own attorney gave CNN that tape. CBS's John Schumo has the details.
With funding.
A tape of a secretly recorded conversation between President Trump and his former attorney Michael Cohen was aired on CNN last night. In it, they appeared to discuss paying off a Playboy model who claims to have had an affair with Mr. Trump.
What financing? We'll have to pay you. So no. I got no.
Michael Cohen's lawyer, Lanny Davis, gave the tape to CNN. Cohen secretly recorded the conversation 2 months before the 2016 election.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David.
Some are wondering if Cohen was speaking about David Pecker, a longtime ally of the president and chairman of American Media, which owns the National Enquirer. Ex-Playmate Karen McDougal says she began a nearly year-long affair with Mr. Trump in 2006. Just a few months before the election, the company purchased her story but never published it. Over the weekend, the president lashed out at Cohen on Twitter over the existence of a tape and added, in part, "Your favorite president did nothing wrong." The president's current lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, said on Fox News the tape speaks for itself.
There's no indication of any crime being committed on this tape, and that is absolutely right.
The White House has previously denied the affair. John Schumo, CBS News.
The Justice Department is investigating Cohen's role in paying women to stay silent about their affairs with Trump in the run-up to the election. Federal investigators first uncovered the recording in April during raids on Cohen's home and offices. Now closer to home, more details are emerging from Monday's accident that left 2 people dead in Rosebud County. The Great Falls Tribune reports a pursuit involving BIA officers and an intoxicated driver Monday afternoon preceded that rollover accident. A Ford F-150 pickup tried to flee the scene, but the driver lost control, swerving off the road and rolling several times. 2 people were ejected. The 35-year-old driver of Lame Deer and a 25-year-old male passenger of Billings were both pronounced dead at the scene. 4 other people were in the truck at the time, including a 6-year-old child. Their conditions are unknown. The FBI is now investigating the crash. Local, state, and federal authorities joined forces to take on the first ever sex offender compliance check on both the Crow and Northern Cheyenne Indian reservations. A press release from the United States Marshals Service office in Billings states during the week of July 16th, the operation resulted in 45 total offenders checked, with 21 offenders being non-compliant on the Crow reservation. On the Northern Cheyenne reservation, 48 total offenders were checked, with 24 being non-compliant. Non-compliant offenders will be referred to the appropriate authorities for prosecution or be given the opportunity to come into full compliance with registration requirements. There's sometimes a bit of shock when taxpayers learn what college presidents get paid. The Chronicle of Higher Education recently released a report ranking those salaries across the country. MTN's Emma Hamilton shows us where Montana State's president stands and how her salary compares to others at the school.
In 2017, Montana State University President Waded Cruzado took home close to $323,000. The Chronicle of Higher Education ranked her salary as 194th out of 253. Nationally, her salary is ranked towards the bottom of the list, but statewide she is bringing home more than the median household income.
It's a tremendous sense of duty to make that much money, and to have that sense of duty and that sense of responsibility to the taxpayers in Montana is something that she never forgets.
On the other hand, head football coach Jeff Choate's salary is a little more than $7,000 more than Cruzado. These salaries are not determined by the same people.
The president's salary, for example, would be negotiated with the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education and the Board of Regents. The coach's salary is negotiated with the school itself.
Becker says it's not uncommon nationwide for a head football coach to be making more than the university president. Coaches have the opportunity to increase their earnings.
Due to a number of bonuses that he can earn through performance, such as hosting coaching events or public appearances, or importantly, and this is important for the university as a whole, improving the GPA of his teams and ensuring successful graduation rates among his players.
In Bozeman, Emma Hamilton, MTN News.
And Becker says the faculty and staff at MSU have a commitment to ensuring taxpayers get the most out of their investment in the university. In other news, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation in Missoula is currently housing the largest non-typical bull elk ever taken in the state of Montana. Montana resident Garth Sessions shot the bull on the eastern side of the state in 2016, claiming he was just in the right place at the right time. In addition to being the largest non-typical bull elk ever taken in the state, it's also 20th all-time, including atypical elk.
You don't have animals like this unless you have quality habitat that's out there, and unless there's good wildlife management that's happening. And so it's a combination of those factors that produce an animal like this, and really all animals that we're surrounded by here at the Elk Foundation.
The non-typical bull elk is currently on display right next to the world record archery bull, also shot in the same location. Meanwhile, maybe you've seen some of the social media posts warning of a giant fissure that could force an emergency closure of Yellowstone National Park. Well, it turns out those posts are not true, but enough people asked about them that the U.S. Geological Survey made its own post to clear the air. MTN's John Shearer reports.
Now, this post got a lot of attention on Facebook, and in spite of the junior high graphics, you might even understand why.
They say that if the supervolcano underneath Yellowstone were to erupt, an estimated 87,000 people would be killed immediately.
So let's give reality a chance to surface here. For starters, there's a 100-foot crack, but it's in Grand Teton National Park, not Yellowstone. And while stranger than fiction news would like you to believe it's 100 feet wide, It's actually 100 feet long. And it's not a fissure in the ground, it's a crack in some rocks above the popular Hidden Falls hiking trail. So the trail is shut down while scientists check it out to make sure rocks don't fall on some unsuspecting hikers. What they found so far is that it's just a crack in the rocks, likely caused by the freeze-thaw cycle in the mountains and normal Rocky Mountain uplift. Since monitoring of the crack began, it hasn't moved, leading the Park Service to suspect it has not moved since last fall. But reality has very little to do with many supposed digital news sites who are using the crack in the rocks for lucrative clickbait. Snopes calls this irresponsible. Even some well-respected posters, like the Weather Channel's Jim Cantori, got sucked in and reposted one of these links. A scientist from the University of Utah, which runs the Yellowstone seismic stations, says it is absolutely baseless to link something like the crack to the Yellowstone Supervolcano. In Bozeman, for MTN News, I'm John Shearer.
And the United States Geological Survey says there is no indication the Yellowstone supervolcano will have a super eruption anytime soon and possibly not ever again.